All right, we are here once again with another WPL video. Jay, also known as older team Charizard number 6, new team Dragonite. Blue Eyes, White Dragonites. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's an homage to the original season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon.
It's like it's a play on words. I understood the reference. I got that reference. So honestly, I think this video is going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it because I didn't do a whole lot of prep on this video, but I know you did, and I'd really like to. We talked a little bit about it and how you felt about certain things throughout the season when we chatted, but I am really curious to kind of see what you thought of my team. So the whole idea of the video. This was actually Brandon Octo Honolulu Pyukumukus idea of going through all teams from season 1 and picking the one Pokemon that he, a champion, would have utilized either differently or used more so and possibly had success. And this is more so to just kind of let people know, hey, you know what, you can use this Pokemon differently, and also to kind of see how you draft a Pokemon, the value of a Pokemon, like the value of a Jigglypuff, the value of a Wishy-Washy, and as we know, won the top F tier Pokemon in the league, and now that award is now called the Wishy-Washy Award. Thank you very much, Octo. So let's dive right into it. So we're gonna go in alphabetical order just because that's just the way it is in the spreadsheet. I think that's fair. So team number 1, the Amarillo Patrats. Slick 36's team. So let me just pull it up right here. And we got Hatterene, Dragalge, Conkeldurr, Volcarona, Liepard, Clawitzer, Exeggutor, Rabombi, Centiskorch, Golisopod, Cofagrigus, Fungus, Piloswine, and Doublade. So who are you looking at specifically on this team?
While there are a lot of strong picks, honestly, I don't feel as though any pick was wasted on anyone's team. And some people had more of an even distribution among their team members than others.
Mm-hmm.
What I kind of expected from Slick is that he was going to pick up some bugs. He's kind of known as the bug expert, and there are a lot of strong bug Pokemon.
Yeah.
So what I kind of expected from him going into our week 1 match, for example, when I was preparing, I was kind of thinking that either Centiskorch or Golisopod would be at least somewhat strong.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Centiskorch. Like, Centiskorch is one of the reasons that it was difficult to justify bringing my Beware if I would go the fluffy route. Centiskorch also can wreck Berserker.
Oh, yeah.
Looking into Centiskorch's characteristics, I mean, they have decent HP
100.
and special defense at 90.
Yeah.
Defense is lacking. That is definitely true, and the 4 times weakness to rock, being both fire and bug, can be debilitating. But he had some ally switch options, which could have helped, and I think he also had some strong Pokemon for threatening those who would use, say, Rock Slide or Max Rockfall. Clawitzer immediately comes to mind for a more literal interpretation, taking on rock types.
Yeah.
But with Centiskorch, you have a few options, both support-wise and offense-wise. Fire Lash reduces your opponent's defense. Centiskorch has Stab and a decent attack stat, so
Yeah.
Centiskorch can kind of set themselves up whilst also setting up other physically oriented Pokemon. You also have Knockoff. Being able to remove an opponent's item can be super strong.
Yeah.
Additionally, I noticed Will-O-Wisp is a good support option.
Yeah.
Lunge deals decent damage and can lower attack stat. And honestly, to cover for the lack of defense, you always have the option of going for Coil.
Yeah. And I just saw this, but Lunge apparently is a 100% chance of lowering attack. I didn't know that.
Yes. Lunge, I think, is an overlooked attack a lot,
Yeah.
and probably because of the distribution and the typing. Bug typically isn't a very strong type, But I do think that you have some interesting instances in which you can get a lot of use out of it, especially in a draft league. There are a lot of psychic fairies actually. Slick's number one used Pokemon Hatterene is Bug Psychic, so it'd be neutral there. Lowering Hatterene's attack stat isn't very good,
No.
but it becomes a decent max flutter by.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
was expecting. No.
this is fun. Yeah, like honestly, that I've never really looked at. It's funny. Scorch was actually my first competitively bred Pokemon in Sword and Shield. I just thought it was so cool. When I saw it, I'm like, Firebug, no freaking way, and it looked cool. And I didn't realize it had 100. 65 defense. Okay, I thought it was. I just saw this green on the screen right here. And it's
Yeah.
100, 115, 65, 90, 90, 65. So it would have been good in Trick Room too. I just realized if we spend this much time on each Pokemon, we're going to be here a while. So for the sake of everybody else, we will move on to, maybe we should skip this next team. This freaking garbage. That ugly Charizard number 6 team. What a one-dimensional squad. Actually, we're about to find out. So as for my team, don't pull any punches, all right? So tell me exactly where I kind of, you know what, looking at my team now, I kind of think that I spread out the usage. You don't really see a large killer, you don't really see, one Pokemon that really stood out. It was actually a fair bit spread. I kind of switched it up. Wasn't quite sure what to do, but I think that, what are you thinking? I'm guessing you're probably thinking Meowstic, probably used more. I only brought it once.
Before I get into that, I do want to say, after hearing you sing high praises of Ferrothorn, which do seem warranted, I mean, looking at the kill to death ratio, it's 7-2. I'm surprised that you only brought Ferrothorn twice to your game.
Here's why. I picked him up as a free agent in week 6.
Oh, so you only had.
Yeah, so I used him like 65% of the time or 66% of the time. I think there was one week I didn't bring it, which was the first week I had it.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's filthy. Like I couldn't get enough of him in the last 2 weeks of the season. He was a big part in my week 7 win, and I almost won week 8 with it as well. Until who expects a Inteleon with a Leaf Storm with Roserade to OHKO my Ferrothorn? Who would expect that? Not this guy.
That was basically the only way it would have been a secured win for taking down Ferrothorn.
Yeah.
Are really bulky, and Roserade. The only situation I can think of where Roserade could touch Ferrothorn is with Weather Ball and some sort of favorable weather setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you think with the rain up, Ferrothorn facing a water type and a grass type, you think I'm sitting pretty. Like.
Yeah.
So are you thinking Ferrothorn for your pick, or you want to change it up because it was a free agent pickup?
Oh no, that was just an aside. So actually, because you had a Rain Core, I'm really surprised not to have seen Beartic. I know that Trick Room wasn't really something that you were planning on going for yourself, but definitely against teams with a strong Trick Room option, having Beartic with base 50 speed and decent stats, great attack stat.
The move pool is really good.
Yeah, I think that's also fair to say. And then you could run Swift Swim.
Yeah.
And you can double your speed in rain, and now you have this like pretty especially in a draft league for Series 6. Beartic with double speed is gonna be outspeeding pretty much every other Pokemon in the meta.
That was the idea. That was the idea, and I just never used it. I was too afraid because it's ice.
Yeah, ice is definitely a difficult typing to bring into games because of the defensive aspects, basically just lacking in resistances and being weak to quite a few types. But I think you had the team to really take on the biggest threats to Beartic, and with the base 130 attack stat, like if you slap on say a Choice Band, or if you went Life Orb, you could even Dynamax. Like you can eliminate strong threats to Beartic. So I think it would have been nice to see Beartic come more often to your games, especially since you did bring Helper fairly often.
Yeah.
Good choice. Tailwind, Setting Rain, Hurricane never misses, high base power, Stab. Scald gets boosted by Rain, chance to burn. Helper's a strong Pokemon.
I
So
liked
yeah,
Pelipper. I would definitely recommend it next season for anybody that can't get their hands on the what's that stupid frog's name? I can't think of it right now.
I'll leave out.
Polytoad Gen 2. Yeah, if you can't get your hands on a Polytoad, I think Pelipper is a great option too. It gets soak. It gets soak as well. I wish I had that. I wish I thought of it. So that's yeah, Beartick. You know what? I think I even dropped Beartick for somebody else fairly early too because I wasn't using it, and I kind of went,
Right.
you know, I think I'm missing a part of my team, and I dropped him to pick up. I had so much rain on this team, right? So I was just like, you
Yes.
know what, I could have dropped somebody else, but no, I decided to go get Polyrath. That was a great choice. Next team, we've got the Dublin Delmais. What are you thinking for this team? Because I see Seeking wasn't really used, but I think it's really there for just electric types. Unpheasant! Why did he not use Unpheasant? That thing's amazing.
Yeah, so actually, I think the best time for him to use Seeking was when he was playing against me.
Bolton, yeah.
We played, yeah, we played round two, and one of the biggest things I was afraid of was if he could stop Electrify, Thunderbolt, and Nuzzle from Boltons, like that's going to really hurt my fast mode.
Yeah.
Um, so I was prepared for Trick Room since I knew he had a strong Trick Room mode. I was prepared for both ends, but if he had Seeking, I'd probably have to go for Trick Room even if he didn't want to,
Yeah.
just because like that was such a huge piece. Seeking, I can understand though, not bringing to most games. If you're not worried about a particularly strong electric type, the support that you can bring with Seeking might be a little bit lacking. Maybe against somebody really strong defensively, you have the Horn Drill.
Hmm.
But yeah, Unfazant, I think overall is just a really strong option that only came to one game and or one match and
Yeah.
wasn't brought to it. With 115 base attack and super luck, you could basically run this as like a physical, less bulky but faster Togekiss. Togekiss has base 120 special attack, and with super luck could run a scope lens and do quite well as an offensive threat.
Hmm.
Unfazant has almost as much in attack, same ability, so could reasonably be expected to do the same thing. I don't think Unfazant has as good of coverage per se. I mean, you have a dark type attack, which is interesting, but you have Tailwind, which Togekiss does not get this generation. So even like running a mixed support and offensive set could put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I think Unfazant was a good choice for the team, especially strengthening Lex's fast mode,
Mm.
because a lot of his good picks function quite well under Trick Room.
Hmm.
So being able to balance out his team with a fast mode option, having Tailwind, I think could have been really strong for him.
Yeah, yeah, like the support moves are always good to look at. That's kind of what I'm looking at for this draft coming up. But I see on Pheasant with Taunt. That's a big move. Heat Wave is really, really good. I wouldn't expect a fire attack on this thing. Hurricane's always good. It's one of the strongest, what's it called, flying attacks. But what I like using that nobody really uses is Air Cutter. It attacks both Pokemon. Um,
And has a high critical hit ratio, so with the
exactly.
Scope Lens, you have a 100% chance of getting a crit. It is important to note, though, that Unfazant has a base special attack of 65, so
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I
not
didn't look at that.
unusable, especially
What a
against
waste.
that's especially weak on the. Oh yes, yeah. The special moves that Unfazant gets are great, but then the
Yeah.
special stat
It's like
could have not.
Metagross. Metagross has a 95 base special attack or something like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That's as high as Tapu Fini.
wow. You heard it here, folks. Yeah, and you know what? I think Dublin Delmai's used his team fairly well. Like I loved. I think he sniped Hitmontop from me. The Gmax Lapras. I think he got those fairly early, so he had a very very good good draft, I believe. And then
Right.
Delmais is a really good. You don't want to face Delmais in Trick Room.
Exactly. And my compliments to him for using Chinchino as much as he
Yeah.
did. When I was preparing for our match, I felt like Chinchino was a huge threat to my team. So
Hmm.
I think Chinchino's flexibility and speed really justify bringing Chinchino to a lot of matches.
Hmm. Let me see. So yeah, so we didn't have a whole lot of bad to say about Dublin Delmise at all. Good job, buddy. Let's bring up Sykes' team. Let's nice segue, eh? Let's bring up Sykes' team. And are you gonna mention Colossal? Or let me guess. Let's make this a game. I'm gonna guess who you're gonna pick. I I personally would pick Colossal, which I already mentioned before, and I think you're either gonna choose Noivern or you're gonna choose Galarian Rapidash.
Um, Both of those are interesting picks and justifiable. I do feel though when we played that he knew how to utilize Noivern and he made good use out of Noivern, which also then made it surprising that he didn't continue to bring Noivern going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Frisk
has such a good ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Obstagoon, he didn't even. It looks like he didn't even consider Obstagoon for a single match.
You didn't get a wink.
Yeah, but I feel like Obstagoon would have been really good to bring. Like some of the qualities that Obstagoon has are really nice. I mean, you have Reckless, Guts, and Defiant for the abilities. Guts is a great ability to have if your opponent has a lot of status moves, or just maybe one or two Pokemon who most likely will be going for status. In addition to, say, self-burning. So you can't be slept. You get the attack boost. So it's not just you can't be status. It's you get a power up and can't be status. That's just really good.
Yeah.
Defiant isn't good in every situation. I mean, especially against somebody who is going to be running Intimidate. Yes, you want Defiant.
But how many teams had that option, right? I know at least half the teams were scrounging for one. Like a guy picked up Litten. Like, you know what I mean? If you're picking a Litten, it means you're really desperate.
Yes, true. But there are also, for example, max moves, which will, and it might have been really funny if the situation arose to switch in Defiant Obstagoon when somebody goes for Parting Shot.
Yeah.
So then you get +3 attack as they switch out instead of you getting a -1 to attack and special attack. That could have been really strong, but that's only possible if somebody has Parting Shot.
So
but anyway,
how does that become a +3 though? How does that become a +3? I don't remember.
So you get -1 attack and then +2 attacks. That's +1, and then you get -1 special attack and +2 attack becomes.
Oh, so Parting Shot on Defiant, because it's 2 different stat drops, you get 2 attack boosts. Yep. Wow.
Yep, that's right.
Everybody, listen up. This is the world champ right here. You got the world champ. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that, and I'm learning stuff as we go. I knew I would. Every time I talk to you, I do. So I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Obstagoon, usually used in singles mostly. One of the coolest looking members of KISS you'll ever see. And let's move on to Flip Flop Fletchlings. I always call them Fletchings, but it's Fletchlings. So again, let's do this game again. Who are you going to pick? I'm going to say you're going to pick... I'm going to say Frostlass.
Frostlass is a good pick, but
I'm not going to get any of these right.
That's okay. It's still a good option. So this is maybe something of a cop-out, but just a really clear combination that I see is Thwackey and Hitmonlee.
Okay.
So Thwackey, you get to set
Unburden.
Grassy Terrain, and Hitmonlee has Unburden. Hitmonlee's worst stat, because you wouldn't use special attack, so I would say Hitmonlee's worst stat by far is defense.
Yeah.
So you actually can get the Grassy Seed boost to defense. I mean, there are other options you have. Hitmonlee gets Fling, for example, if you really wanted to. You have Focus Sash. Hitmonlee gets Fake Out. If you went normal gem, you could activate your own.
The Unburden, yeah.
That way. But yeah, what I like about that combo is Thwackey gets some decent support moves. Thwackey also gets Fake Out, so you're setting up Hitmonlee to be able to demolish something turn 1.
Yeah.
Fake out something that you don't anticipate to Dynamax, and maybe who can threaten Hitmonlee pretty strongly, and Hitmonlee just goes to town with the amazing attack stat that Hitmonlee has.
Well, and let's just mention here that I'm just looking at his. I've got it up on the screen here for everyone to see as well, and he is not really considered a support Pokemon, but I see Fake Out, I see Helping Hand, I believe he gets Coaching. He gets Vacuum Wave 2, could be a potential weakness policy proc as well on, say, let me just look at his team. Weakness policy Snorlax would be interesting. Haven't really seen it, but that would be even weakness policy. No, because I was thinking Mr. Rhyme, but because he's psychic, it would be neutral.
Right.
But yeah, that coaching is huge, man. Like, you give coaching to, say, I don't know, a Snorlax or something like that. Its defense is its weakest stat next to its speed, but it's actually a positive thing for him. But yeah, Hitmonlee is kind of a monster if you look at him. Look at that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the high special defense stat and like passable HP and good attack makes Hitmonlee even a good candidate for Dynamax, or you could do Hitmonlee outside of Dynamax.
Mm-hmm.
I like the options that Hitmonlee offers to a team when it has support like a terrain setter.
Yeah, Unburden is very, very broken, and Dynamax definitely hides a lot of Pokemon's weaknesses, which you see a lot of weaker Pokemon that are usually Focus Sash. You throw, some sort of attacking item like a Life Orb or something on it, and you Dynamax, and it's really hard to stop. But yeah, that's a good choice right there. It doesn't look like I'm going to get any of these right, but let's go to the Franklin Freezers. Not the best end to his season, but you and I have talked a little bit about this team. So this team, it looks like a mixed bag, doesn't it? But what's your opinion on this team?
So I feel like he is kind of justified in saying that his team struggles against Trick Room, but at the same time, there are options for dealing with Trick Room. I mean, Glaceon,
Yeah.
Vaporeon have low enough speed to where if you Iron Ball them, they can function well in Trick Room. Amoonguss, his first pick, the first pick of the draft, I support him in that. I think that Amoonguss was a good pick,
Yeah.
but I think that yeah, I don't think he really figured out how to make Amoonguss shine. I feel like in Trick Room, when your opponent sets Trick Room, your opponent is setting up Amoonguss to be successful.
Yes.
Even if most of the rest of his team would suffer. But if you throw an Iron Ball on a Vaporeon, you actually have a pretty legitimate Trick Room mix between bulky and attacker. Vaporeon has great HP, decent special defense, decent special attack. Gets acid armor, so you could even like double your defense probably before your opponent gets an attack off.
Yeah, hide his defense. Yeah.
Vaporeon has good support moves, self-healing. Yeah, I feel like
Charm, Helping Hand, Baby Doll Eyes is priority attack weak lowering. That's huge, right? Acid armor, like you said. I've got it up. Yawn as well as all the evolutions get. Flip turn would have been interesting, and if you got a bad matchup in Trick Room, but
or self weakness policy procking. Not many Pokemon who could benefit from that, but Rotom Heat jumps out immediately.
Don't see a whole lot of Rotoms run weakness policy, but that would be pretty scary.
Yeah, I feel like that, and almost everyone on his team gets taunt. I feel like that could have really helped in the Trick Room matchup.
Yeah, stop Trick Room, and yeah, especially if they're not holding a mental herb, that would be really, really big.
Or if they were having double taunt, really helps. I wouldn't say that he never used taunt. He used taunt against me in our match.
Yeah.
On my Dusclops, but it was from Fletchinder, and that was a bit expected. So, yeah, I feel like and we know that Dusclops isn't going to run Mental Herb, so I mean,
yeah, he's going to have the EV Light.
For not trying to double taunt.
Yeah, honestly, man, if I was facing you in a week, now that I know exactly how you do, I'd put taunt on every single Pokemon I had. You have so much tech on your team, man, and it's just so impressive. So going on to the Gold Decidueyes, I ended up facing this guy in week 8, and I took him game 1. I felt really, really good about it, and he just adapted so well, and he brought a tech that I was not ready for. He revealed Soak and Teleon, and he used it game 2, and I remember after I lost that game, my wife was right there, and I was just staring into like oblivion going, he's going to use that again, and I don't even have a counter for it. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I even stop this? Right? Inteleon's so fast. I'm like, oh man. So let me just have. I think he should have used Togetic more. Obviously. like, um, no, I'm gonna say. Let me see. I think you're gonna pick Gorgeist.
Gurgeist is definitely an amazing pick, and I was tempted, but I kind of feel like maybe it would also be good to look at some of the other options. He tried so hard to trade Crawdon.
I do remember that.
Uh, I mean,
It's
I
that thing's a
know that
monster with adaptability. It's a monster.
yes, dual typing adaptability cannot be
No.
underestimated. I felt like when I was preparing for our match that Crawdon could have been a real threat, especially knowing that I have a pretty strong Trick Room mode. Um, he could have done a lot with that, I feel.
You faced him
Um,
round 2 of the playoffs, didn't you? No, that was
round,
the Patch Rats.
yeah, it was round one.
Round 1. Gotcha. It would have been actually. We were very very close to you and I facing off round 1, and it wouldn't have gone well for me. Let's just say.
I mean, we don't know that, but I can't say I would bet against myself in any particular match, but I just know to take every match seriously. And honestly, anybody can beat anybody. It comes
Yeah.
down to the prep you do, in large part, in addition to the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like Crawdaunt was completely looked over. I understand that Crawdaunt isn't that big in the meta. That's fair also when there's a preponderance of fairy types, but in a draft league, I feel like Crawdaunt can really do a lot of damage, especially against somebody who has Trick Room mode. You can just plop Crawdaunt down, or even with adaptability. What if you did Choice Band Aqua Jet for your fast mode?
Yeah, Choice Band Aqua
A lot
Jet.
of people
I
are gonna do
was
that.
the first thing I see when I look at his base stats. I have him up here. 55 special defense. You could even run an assault vest version of this thing, and it could be probably, give it flip turn or something like that, so we can get out of there if you need to. But
Yes.
yeah, you can run 4 solid moves. So you got your priority in your Aqua Jet. You've got, let me see, knockoff, another taunting Pokemon. Obviously, you can't do that with your assault vest, but Aqua Jet. You got your, what did I just say? Knockoff. Lash Out would have been interesting. Rock Slide is big. You
Hmm.
know,
You don't need your attacks to have an adaptability boost, which is
no.
something that Porygon Z taught us. And we know he knows how to use Porygon Z because Porygon Z was also on his team.
Yeah, it didn't have too much of an effect on the game that I played against him, but I definitely was preparing for either the lead of PZ and Togetic,
Right.
and Togetic and Durant. That's who I was preparing for. It's funny because I watched in my prep for him. A lot of the times, what I did is people are very predictable when it comes to like I guessed leads quite a bit, and most of the time I guessed kind of what people were going to bring. So I kind of felt that was where I did well, but he never led Togetic. He always had it
Mm.
come in the back, and I'm like, man, this is like prime turn 1. Follow me. Let Durant or something like that set up. Get someone a Swords Dance. Get somebody a Nasty Plot. And then you just wreck. And he never did it. So I think that's probably what I would pick, even though Togetic was his most used Pokemon. Um,
Right.
I just think that he could have used Togetic in the front rather than the back, and
Yeah.
you can't stop it, like unless you have something that like your Duraludon with your Stalwart, right?
Yeah. Duraludon and Veriscute are both able to ignore redirection, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody put Veriscute on their team,
No.
so Duraludon was really the only option out of Pokemon who are on teams.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think sometimes it's really smart to have your support Pokemon with redirection in the back. Um, I think maybe it's good for hedging your bets. If you want to lead 2 really strong attackers, if your opponent's able to demolish one, you can then protect the other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's not bad.
but it's not something to utilize in every situation. That's definitely
Yeah,
fair.
you gotta mix it up every once in a while. I find, and that's just all I did. I just watched videos of everyone's matches and say who did they bring every week, what moves did they use, and a lot of the times people brought the same sets. So I kind of went, well, Well, like for example, like I faced the team that we're bringing up right now, the Great Marsh Gastrodons. Um, he had Gigalith Stoutland, and we'll get to your pick in a second, but he literally led it every week. Well, he led Stoutland every single week, and he either led with Gigalith for the Sand Rush ability, or he brought Gigalith in the back to switch it in, thinking that there might be some sort of shenanigans with weather coming out. So
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, and he led it all 3 games against me, and he said that I prepped and played him really well that week, and I feel that was probably my best week. Let me see. So his team here. So I'm going to guess Thievel. What you're gonna pick?
I think Thievel is a fair
I'm wrong
choice.
again.
Yeah, Thievel, I think would really thrive with terrain support, which
Yeah.
is something that is really difficult to bring in, right? There aren't many Pokemon in Series 6 who can set terrain,
Yeah.
but it's also possible with a Dynamax Pokemon to set it. And Thievel, it has a lot of amazing support options. But I feel like looking at his team, there's a recurring theme and weaknesses, like a lot of rock ground fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Alchemy could have expanded his options a lot.
Oh yeah. He picked up Alchemy, Gmax Alchemy a little later. I know that, but he never ended up using it.
That is true. Yeah. Well, I think from the looks of it, he started with Gmax Machamp,
Yeah.
and then eventually made his way to Alchemy. Machamp is also pretty interesting because Machamp is really bulky, but has decent attack
Mm-hmm.
uh, and good coverage, I would say. Alchemy, though, I mean, you can run an offensive set. You could run a support set. I mean, I know that Decorate's fairly obvious, but you can also use that to your advantage in running an offensive set. I mean,
Yeah.
Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire, Giga Drain. You have pretty good offensive options
Mm-hmm.
for Alchemy, and even options that are good against the things that Alchemy is weak to. A lot of fairy types get psychic attacks, but then Mystical Fire. I feel like Alchemy is just a really strong Pokemon, and having the ability to self heal, always nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And Aroma Veil, I think. Limit. Okay, so never mind. What's the ability that Slurpuff gets? Not Slurpuff. Aromatisse. What's the ability that it gets? Misty.
There's Sweet Veil and Aroma Veil. I believe Sweet Veil is the one which prevents sleep, and then Aroma Veil is the one which prevents like all sorts of status moves. It's like Taunt, Torment.
Yeah, that's one I was thinking of. Yeah, because I know Aromatisse is really good as a Trick Room setter because it can't be taunted, which is really neat. Not many people know that,
Exactly.
so you waste a turn. So yeah, that's so kind of 2 picks for Great Marsh. That was kind of cool. So let me see. So we got Hammerlock. You know what, Hammerlock?
A lot
We've
of
got.
zeros.
Yeah, it's the last place team, so clearly you can make a case for probably all of these to be used a little differently, other than Halucha. Yeah, but even then, you could run a slightly different Halucha than he brought every single week. Another case of Comfey, Halucha, literally every single game, literally every single week, and it was really easy to prep for. So who are you thinking for this?
A lot of strong options. For example, I like Scoldpede, but and Espeon is really special to me. I love Vulpix, but I'm gonna go with Galvantula.
Ah, yes.
I know a lot about Galvantula's potential from a YouTuber. We met because of
Manby.
him, Bryce Young.
Manby.
On his
Go
team.
see Manby's channel. Go subscribe. MANBY.
Hey, that's my job. I'm his mod on YouTube. But good job, good job. So, yeah, the way he used Galvantula was definitely smart. What's
Mm-hmm.
nice about Compound Eyes, what I put on my Butterfree every single week, mind you,
Yeah.
Compound Eyes increases accuracy. So, you can run a high base power, low accuracy move like Thunder,
Thunder. Yeah.
and only miss 7% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Galvantula's special attack stat is okay,
Yeah, I think
but
it's 90 or something, right? Is it 97?
right. What makes a difference with lower offensive stats is high base power moves. So Thunder actually gives Galvantula a decent attacking option.
Mm-hmm.
Bug Buzz is also okay, but where Galvantula really shines is having the ability to reduce speed with Electro Web.
Ah, yes.
I like that a lot, and I'm just going to double check. Yeah, Galvantula also gets String Shot and Struggle Bug. String Shot usually isn't better than Electro Web, I would say, because Electro Web you get to deal
You get damage, yeah.
and most of the time you only need to reduce speed by 1 stage, but String Shot hits both targets and lower speed by 2 stages.
Oh.
So that can be extremely helpful as well. And Galvantula gets Struggle Bug, which doesn't miss, unlike Snarl.
Yeah.
5 lower base power, doesn't activate Justified, and you will lower special attack by 1 stage. So Galvantula, really good options, even if you brought the same set every week. Those 4 moves are just 5 moves, I should say.
Well, it's hard to prep
really
for.
helpful.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to. He actually ran a Volcarona as well. I remember that team. That team was insane. He ran Volcarona and Oranguru, and he set up Trick Room turn 1, and then he used Struggle Bug with Volcarona, had a Focus Sash on, got the Trick Room up, and then he did After You. No, not After You. Instruct on Volcarona. So he got another Struggle Bug off, and then Volcarona used Struggle Bug again. So before they got their second turn, you're a -3.
Yeah. So you could do something really similar with Galvantula, basically.
Yeah.
And
It's fast.
And Galvantula, low attack stat, gets Sucker Punch. What if you did Weakness Policy Espeon?
Hey. See, this is why we got the champ on, folks. 108 speed tier too. That outspeeds quite a bit of popular threats in 95, 97 as well in speed. So that's a big deal as well, especially with the support it has, as we just mentioned. So going on to the next team, we got Hammerlocks done. Your team. All right. I am not going to give you the opportunity to do this. This is my turn. The only team I get to do one, folks. We were talking about this a little bit before, and you know what? I know you wanted to use Jigglypuff, so I think you're probably gonna say that one about your own team. But who were we saying that I thought you could have used a little differently? Do you remember? Oh yeah. So when you drafted Bolton, Diggersby, and you also grabbed your Mamoswine as well, I was thinking automatically Electrify. And you did use it. It's a great tech because you literally can't hit it. Like if you're trying to kill the Mamoswine with a water attack, Bolton uses his base 121, I believe, speed to get off an Electrify. Now your water move becomes electric, and it can't hit anything. And even if it does hit Bolton, it's not very effective damage. It's half damage.
Right.
So I thought you'd use that a little bit more. I was saying that you could use that every week, know it's coming, and still struggle with it unless you taunted or something like that, right? But try taunting a Bolton before it gets a move off. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking Jigglypuff or Beware?
I mean, both.
Both wasn't an option.
That's true, but they both really have their advantages. I still stand by what I said. I pigeonholed myself with my conceptualization of Jigglypuff. As soon as I realized that they got Perish Song, it kind of became like what I would do if I brought Jigglypuff. It's also difficult with my Trick Room option in Dusclops. Dusclops is a lot more passive, so to try and bring Dusclops and Jigglypuff is difficult.
Yeah.
And I relied so much on Butterfree. Between Butterfree and Dusclops, I really want Eviolite and Focus Sash 99% of the time.
So what do you run on Jigglypuff?
Yeah,
exactly.
That made it so difficult. I mean, I didn't have to rely so much on Butterfree, but hey, really, really performed well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll always feel regrets over not playing Jigglypuff and Beware. Especially, I traded them. I didn't even use them, and then I traded them. But yeah, I do think that they were still strong picks. I just needed to get a better idea of how best to utilize them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your team, your team was spread out pretty good. Like it seems like you just wanted to use different guys every week. You were probably the least predictable person in the league to prep for, other than Wishy Washy, but and Butterfree and Dusclops. But you know what? At the same time, those Wishy Washy try to stop it, and Butterfree and Dusclops they just complement other Pokemon, right?
Right.
So that was really, really good of you, and that resulted in your championship. Congrats again. Let's go on to another team, Las Vegas Corvin Knights. This team, I think, I'm going to say it again, and I think I'm going to keep saying it till the new season starts. Everybody was afraid of this team. Draft
I
day.
was too. A lot.
Draft day, I remember, because he got, so everybody, I think we need to value certain positions of the draft. So I remember when I was announcing last season saying like, oh, first 16th overall pick goes to, or 15th overall pick goes to, and everybody's like, I swear to God, if I get that pick. And then he got it, and he's like, damn it, right? But he actually had one of the more impressive drafts because he was able to pick doubles, back-to-back picks, right? So as soon as he picked Palisand Excelgor, I believe that,
Right.
or no, he got Kingdra Politoed first and second. And I think as soon as that happened, a lot of people just went, uh-oh. Like right off the bat, because I think picking pairs is really hard when you're in the middle. Yes, you don't have an issue with getting a competitive Pokemon because you get one of the top 7 or 8 Pokemon in the game. But you also have the furthest distance in between picks. So it's kind of hard to plan for who you're going to pair them up with. But Las Vegas Corviknights didn't have that issue. So what are you thinking for the underused Pokemon? Wow, 12, 14, and 16 for the top 3 Pokemon on this team. Go for it.
So the combination of Excelgor and Palisand is a really strong one, and we didn't really see that, but he did bring Palisand to a few games. Excelgor, though, only one game.
Yeah.
I really feel like Excelgor could have done a lot more work for him. Excelgor, for example, gets Struggle Bug, fastest Struggle Bug in the game.
145, wow.
Yeah, in Series 6, the only Pokemon who outspeeds naturally without abilities or anything is Ninjask, and nobody was running Ninjask.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much guaranteed fastest Struggle Bug. You can definitely power down, especially offensive threat before they get an attack off. Acid Spray to support special attackers. Imagine Kingdra popping off, and then you think that you're able to wall Kingdra, and Excelgor comes in and halves your defense. Well,
yeah.
So much for that.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways you could run that Kingdra option as well, right? You could be like, man, this thing is going to power up. It's just like, meanwhile, I'm just going to power you down.
Yes, exactly. And even beyond that, Excelgor gets Yawn. You could run a Throat Spray set. There are quite a few sound-based moves that Excelgor gets, including Round, fastest round in the game.
Don't underestimate Round. I've seen a couple of Round strategies, and the first one comes off, it's pretty strong. The second one comes off, they're both dead. I think it's Splash, right? Splash attack?
It is not. However, the special feature about Round, other than the power of the second user being doubled, is that immediately after the first hit, the second one comes through. So you have no time in between the first instance of Round and the second to do anything. So if you have a really strong but slow special attacker with Round, Excelgor gets off an attack. Maybe it's not that strong, but the second one is going to hit like a truck. I mean,
and immediately, like you said,
Round. Oh, so good.
Well, now, because if you ran a slow Pokemon second with a fast Pokemon using it first, the slow Pokemon their speed wouldn't even matter. And that's why I think it's great to have you on just to kind of talk about this stuff, because there are so many techs in Pokemon, and I think that's what separates it from all these other games, is that they say it's for kids. It ain't. It ain't for kids. Man, all these techs, man, like the double round a bit, like there's so much to remember, and that's why these champions and things like that, these guys that play competitively, that's why it's so impressive. They just have all this information going, and here I am going, let's use the strongest attack, right? And you guys in your category, like, don't use protect, use detect, because if somebody imprisons it, I'm just like, my brain just explodes, right? So that's a good selection. I think that makes me look at Excelgor a lot different now, and I think a lot of people are going to be looking at him. I believe he's fairly low, if you remember. He might be in C or D tier as well. So
Yeah, I think this time they moved down a lot because Excelgor Palisand was quite popular at the beginning of Series 6, and now
it's
nobody's
not
really.
existent. Yeah. Hey, and in draft league, it's still really powerful. So if you got back-to-back
Yep.
picks, first overall and last overall, not a bad duo to choose. So moving on to the next team, Mr. Alton Aces. I guess you have the option to choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different Pokemon
Or
that
Frostmoth.
or Frostmoth that could have been underused on this team, and I think you're clearly going to pick Hydreigon.
Yeah, there's no reason for me not to pick Hydreigon when I wanted Hydreigon so badly. And for anybody who doesn't know, there was a misunderstanding. I'm an alien, so maybe this was obvious to everybody but me, but I thought that week 8, if we made trades, they would start taking effect in as of the quarterfinals, and any team that wasn't going to the playoffs, their Pokemon would move to free agents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw Hydreigon and was immediately like, okay, no, this is the
I
sauce.
need this in
This
my
is the sauce.
life.
Hydreigon is dark type and so immune to prankster moves. That was something that my team was sorely lacking. Huge special attacking power, excellent bulk, decent speed, has good support options in Snarl and Helping Hand, for example.
Yep.
Um, could even run a physical set because while Hydreigon's physical attack isn't that great, but it's 95.
Yeah,
Same stuff
95.
with Phoenix.
Yeah.
Special attack, just like. Hydreigon even has pretty good physical moves. Like, I was trying to cook up something really crazy for if I had Hydreigon when I would rematch Vitor, where I would use Belch. Turned out that wasn't really necessary. If you electrify Max Starfall, it goes from 130 base plus 1 from stab, and then then times 4 for being quad effective, losing the stab and damage being halved.
Hey.
It's a differential of like minus 13. Absolutely insane.
Oh my god.
So Bolton Hydreigon would have actually been a huge threat in front of Primarina, even though Primarina obliterates Hydreigon under most circumstances. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like Hydreigon is a huge, especially offensive threat. You do have to watch out for fairy type moves, but there are ways to cover for it.
Yeah. And that's just another example of any Pokemon can be used to win. I think Wolfie has intentionally used really poor teams. One of my favorite videos he's ever made was Delibird. If you ever get a chance to watch that video,
Yes.
it is the funniest troll job ever. He just wrecks people with Delibird, and Delibird is clearly the worst Pokemon next to Unknown in the game, I would imagine. But yeah, it gets hustle. It gets so pick it in the draft league, please, so I can face your Delibird. So let's go on to the runner-up. So Paulo X Cadrilles. Not a whole lot you could say about this team, but I'm actually curious to kind of see what you say about this team because he did very, very well and spread out the usage on this team. So do you have a Pokemon on this team that you feel could have been used a lot differently?
Okay, so because he's my boy, I sorry brought him to 3 matches, but only 1 game. Sirfetch'd.
Hmm.
I was considering picking up Sirfetch'd after I saw that he dropped Sirfetch'd.
Mm-hmm.
Sirfetch'd has an amazing base attack of 135.
Yeah.
Pretty good stats all around. Awkward speed tier, I get it, but having access to Leak to give you +2 to your critical hit ratio.
Yeah.
Scrappy can come in handy in certain circumstances, I would say. I really just love Sirfetch'd so much. Helping Hand, Faint, First Impression, which is just, how do
Yeah.
you even? And the ability to deal a ton of damage whilst also increasing speed through Brave Bird going into max airstream. like that's going to be hitting like a truck. You have Leaf Blade, 100% crit chance if you go with Leak. You don't even need to go with Leak on Surf Edge, honestly. There are a lot of other items which could work well. If your opponent is expecting you to go for Leak, you can also punish your opponent hard with that. So,
Well, and stab meteor assault is geez, base 150 power on that attack, and geez,
and if you have Scrappy, there's no escaping it.
No,
there's no escaping it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, like you said, it is a weird speed tier because 65 isn't quite slow enough to perform well in Trick Room unless you put like an Iron Ball on it or something. And even at the detrimental nature and the 0 speed IVs, it's still a little quicker than a lot of your Trick Room threats as well, and it can't really get that fast unless it gets a few airstreams off. So but yeah, that's a good Pokemon. Like it's so strong. 130, 135 I think it was. 135 attack. That's monstrous, man. So let's go over to South Texas Beedrills. Kind of a quiet team. You know, like he started off the season, I believe it was 0-2, 0-3 or something like that, and I was like, you know what, he's having fun out there. He has a decent team, and then he just turned into this beast of a player. Like, I think he wrecked a couple of good teams, and I was one of them. Like, no, you know, I played horribly that game, but he just played so well. So the combination of the two just made me look like a child. So, but yeah, he has a good team, man. Like, I love his team. Like, I don't even know what I would change on this team now that I think of it. Like other than Toxapex, it took him a while to get rid of it.
I like Toxapex, actually.
Of course you do. You're the champion.
Well, water types were
yeah.
my favorite from the very beginning, but Toxapex I do think has a lot of potential. But yeah, it's frustrating, I think, to look at Toxapex when you have a draft league and just be like, what do you do?
Yeah, like it's a really good Pokemon. Wow, Trick Room too. 35 speed. Yeah, like it's Recover is always good, but it doesn't have a whole lot of support for its partner. Like, it gets Icy Wind, I guess.
Awkward when you're so slow.
Yeah, like he just doesn't. He's really a single specialist, isn't he?
Toxapex is best in singles for sure, but I think you can make a case for if you're playing more of a defensive style and you need to do some repositioning before you can take on your opponent's team, or if you can at least apply enough pressure to your opponent to make them have to reposition, you can punish them with, for example, laying down a layer of toxic spikes, and then you can threaten with Venom Drench. Attack, defense, speed all go down by one. Attack, special attack, and speed all go down by one stage with one move. Yikes.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was actually thinking this. You don't see a whole lot of hazard set in doubles, do you? Like, you think a Stealth Rock would be. It's a single time it's used, and you know.
I do need to offer a slight correction. In VGC, you don't see them, and it's understandable because there are only 4 Pokemon. There's not. You expect there not to be so much switching, and you can be doubled into while you're setting hazards, which can diminish the value a lot. But in doubles OU, for example, there's a bit more hazard setting. My favorite thing to do was Sticky Web.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you set up hazards and apply pressure, force your opponent to make those awkward switches and be punished with your hazards for it. I wouldn't invest too heavily into it because you are sacrificing using offensive moves, recovery, protect.
Yeah,
to
it's
be
a
able to get
one-time
those
use.
off. But yeah, you can get some value. I mean, if your opponent's weak to rock, like a lot of their team is weak to rock, going for Stealth Rock, for example, is gonna put in some work.
Oh yeah, like that G-Max Charizard would really hurt, which I think we're actually coming up to on Yizzle's team coming up. But so is Toxapex your pick? I kind of said it, but I don't know if it is your pick. Is it?
I love Slowbro, and he didn't bring Slowbro ever, so I gotta go with Slowbro. Slowbro is also immune to Taunt, but in a different way. It's due to Oblivious.
Yeah.
The immunity to Intimidate isn't usually that helpful for Slowbro, but if you need to, you can run a more physical set. The distribution of stats in Gen 1 was always a bit more like
Oh
across the
yeah.
board than maxed. 75 is not great. I probably wouldn't go for it, but I
Hmm.
mean it's an option. Regenerator's good too. But where Slowbro really shines is having like this hugely formidable defense stat,
Yeah.
okay special defense, and good HP. Great spread. You
Great
can
speed
run
tier as well.
Trick Room. Yes, you're setting up Trick Room, and then you can immediately go on the offensive with Slowbro and Trick Room. I actually um, was looking into with Shadow Sneak going into Slowbro and
Weakness
activating
policy.
Weakness Policy. Yeah, it worked out really well. It was one of my peaks on the ladder with it actually. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Slowbro. I think if you Dynamax Slowbro, they're really hard to take down,
Oh yeah.
and they have enough attack to where they're going to be threatening your opponent's team. Decent typing. Outside of the Trick Room option, you have Slack Off for recovery.
Yawn.
Yeah, Yawn's always handy to have. You could you could also run Belly Drum. Base 75 attack isn't
Okay.
that great, but we learned from Diggersby though, you don't need you don't need a high base attack for if you get a free +2, like you're going to be dealing massive damage. 75 base attack, even if you don't invest heavily into it, if you get a +6, you're going to deal a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I
Well, look
think that
at
would be highlighted.
sorry, look at Colossal. Like Colossal's got a 30 base speed or something like that. It gets a +6. It's got a speed over 300.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, so a +6 is nothing to joke around about. So
Mhm.
so that's actually not bad. Anything with belly drum is scary. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a great pick, Slowbro, and I actually have Slowbro on one of my ideas for the next draft as well, and I imagine he's on some others as well. So if you can get him at the right round, it's probably really good value. You get a Trick Room setter, you get Expanding Force, especially with the Indeedis back in.
Yes.
You know, Series 6 was
And
kind of a
Tapu
and Tapu Lele, yeah, Tapu, the forgotten Tapu. Why? You know, I don't understand. I think since Finney just took over, it's anyway. I'll stop ranting. So Yizzle. Last but not least, Yizzle, the Yizzle, for shizzle my Yizzle. I had to say it. I had to say it. um, it's funny. I just before we go over his team, I feel bad because I sent him a message. I think a couple weeks ago, and I said, "Yo, Yizzle, yo man, do me a favor and pick a team. Pick a team name. Come on, man. Everyone else has team names, and you're just your name." And he's like, "Yizzle is my team name." And I went, "Oh, but you didn't change it." He goes, no, and I forget what it originally was, and I do remember that was a long time ago, and you did change it to Yizzle. I'm like, I guess it's Yizzle. I love it. Now that I know it's intentional, I love it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that was just his gamer tag, and I was just like, come on, man, pick some. He is gonna make a logo though, I think. So, or that is his logo, and he's gonna send it to me. So, let's go over his team. I love Oranguru. I think he doesn't have a whole lot of Trick Room Pokemon on his team. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I
So
mean Magneton can function reasonably well.
with the Eviolite,
Lapras
yeah.
can do all right. Although Lapras's value without Aurora Veil is somewhat diminished. I wouldn't say Lapras is bad without the Gmax form, but
Hmm.
it's a lot harder to justify Lapras because they've mostly just got the bulk. Um, but yeah, so I think uh, I'm kind of leaning toward Doug Trio. I was thinking it would be nice if there was some way to help out Virizion. Virizion's got the 4 times weakness
To
to
flying,
flying.
which is the most
Uh,
common typing attack in Series 6, I'd say.
One thing that I think could be really interesting is if his opponent wouldn't expect a Doug Trio Virizion lead, maybe they brought
Beat up.
flyers to the match, but they don't lead them. Doug Trio can trap his opponent's Pokemon as long as they don't have Levitate. But yeah, so they wouldn't be able to switch in to stop Virizion from really popping off. I mean, yes, eventually, if he's knocking out Pokemon, the Flyers, if they're in the back, are going to be able to start coming in.
Yeah.
But I think that he can put a dent in his team, in his opponent's team, before they come in, and I think there's a lot of strength in that. Dugtrio also amazing speed and has access to rock moves. So
Hmm.
Dugtrio, in their own right, can kind of threaten the flying types who would threaten Virizion in turn. Dugtrio also gets some good support moves. Ally Switch. Um,
I had the Galarian version. I know a little bit about Duck Trio.
I like Alolan Dugtrio. The Steel Ground typing
Look at it.
that was really strong
It's the
from
Beatles. It's the Beatles Pokemon.
uh, Bee Gees.
Beatles. It's got like the Ringo Starr hair. No,
Uh,
not Beetle. Ah, it's okay.
Oh yeah, that one hairstyle. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Oh, thank
that
God.
of the three, that's my favorite hairstyle. Yeah, I've always heard them referred to as the Bee Gees. So now I got to look into it more because didn't John Lennon also have really long hair, and one of them has long hair?
They all kind of went through this weird phase where they had short bowl cuts in the beginning, and then they all grew
True.
these massive beards and just kind of had these big long hair, and they all kind of just the drugs took over. I think that's just that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Doug Trio, Sucker Punch is big. It's obviously got decent coverage in its rock ground. It's got obviously its earthquake. Memento, I ran a little bit on my Alolan Duck Trio.
Yeah.
So if you got the Focus Sash on, they hit the Focus Sash. Next turn, you just Memento. You're dead anyway. For the most part, beat up, I mostly got it for. I needed a beat up user for my justified Pokemon in Lucario. Didn't really use it a whole lot, but yeah, Doug Trio, I think is that glass cannon that I think can really kind of catch you off guard. You're not
Yes.
exactly afraid of it when you're up against it. You just kind of use a spread move, and it's 80-90% dead. Even if it's not super effective or anything, it's
Right.
fairly it's fairly frail, right? But man,
Yeah.
Sunny Day. I never even thought like why. Okay, we should make a whole video just on why do Pokemon get certain moves. Like Sunny Day on a Doug Trio. That makes no sense to me.
As a Pokemon who mostly hides under the ground, fair. I don't know exactly the 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 mechanics of Sunny Day. Like Rain Dance, you do a dance to
You
make it rain.
dance, yeah.
Got it.
It's
Sunny
just
Day, I
yeah.
don't know.
It just makes sense. It's science, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. So we talked about my Alolan Doug Trio. Well, we're actually doing Yizzle's team. Um,
Well,
man,
a lot of what you said for Alolan
it
Doug Trio applies
applies.
to
Yeah.
Doug Trio.
See, Oran Guru, like, I want to talk about Oran Guru because, yes, he didn't really use it on this team, and it makes sense. Like, Jolteon, I think that Jolteon, if you just look at Wolfie's WBE team, well, and he actually climbed to #1 with his Jolteon, too, with his Life Orb Jolteon.
Right.
So Jolteon is no joke, right? Obviously, he had the right support, and he's also a legend when it comes to exactly how he plays. But
Right.
Oran Guru, we were talking about him a little bit earlier, and I actually wanted Oran Guru, and I wasn't going to pick him as early as Yizzle did, and he grabbed him really early, and I was really
Hmm.
upset because I was like, you know what? Hats off to you. I wouldn't have picked him that early, but that's a good Pokemon, right? And it just seems like, and that's the thing about the draft. So as we come to a conclusion on the video, thank you for giving all the input. I learn a lot every single time I hear you speak, even if it's not even Pokemon related. But man, like as you can see, great pick in Oranguru, fantastic pick. Nothing for him to go with, right? So I think if you're going in with the mentality of I got to get the best Pokemon available at the time of the pick, um, honestly, guys, one Pokemon is no good without a second Pokemon in doubles. If it doesn't have support, you could draft a Metagross, which is a fantastic Pokemon. If it doesn't have either Tailwind support or if it doesn't have good switch-ins with it, like it's just gonna struggle, right? So perfect example with Oranguru, it just didn't have anything to support. Um, Other than like you said the magneton and things like that. And I think we could all in hindsight kind of look back at our teams and say, man, I really wish I got something better than that or whatever it might be. I would definitely redo my entire draft, and Dracovish would not be my first round pick, third
Uh,
overall.
but do bear in mind that I think maybe the biggest takeaway from this video is before you think about my team is trash, it would have been nice if I had this instead of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you can increase your team's synergy by making some good free agency trades, or if you're able to pull it off, trading with other players. But before you do that, really look into what sorts of things that your Pokemon can do. Um, while I think that there were changes in lineups that everybody could have made to make their team function better, I think that bringing out the potential of the Pokemon already on your team should be considered first before looking at something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I made a mistake in trading Beware away.
The one that
Without
got
really
away.
using it. Yeah, like I didn't have to run Fluffy, so then I didn't need to worry about the fire weakness. It was still maybe a little bit debilitating with the fighting and flying weaknesses and fairy, but like
And this
at
and
the end
that.
of the day, Beware is way bulkier than I gave them credit for. So, um, yeah, I feel like look back at your team uh, for those who played in season one. Figure out some of the stuff that you did, and really give yourself a pat on the back, even if you didn't use a lot of Pokemon. The all of the choices that I pointed out were like I'm saying these are good choices. These Pokemon could have functioned really well for you,
Hmm.
so it's good that you picked them. Consider in the next draft doing this look before your first match because we're going to have a week after the draft before all of you are going to be playing your games.
Yep.
Really take a look at what everybody can do before you put together your first team for your first opponent. And you can't fit everybody onto your week one team, of
No.
course, but really consider everyone before putting together your six for each week.
Yeah, and you made a good point. You were talking about free agents, and I think one of the first things people want to do after the draft is look straight at the free agent list. They're like, I'm missing this, I'm missing this, I'm missing this. I didn't get a Taunter, I didn't get a Trick Room user, I didn't get this.
Right.
And the very first thing people do is they run to the free agent list, and they're like, who's available? Who can fill that need? And they drop something, and somebody else, like, say, Octo over here, might just be like, oh my God, I can't believe they dropped that, and just licking their chops, seeing this untapped potential in this Pokemon that you threw away just for a roll. So I think
Right.
that's really, really good advice to kind of say, hey, look at what you got before you go. Well, there's a couple sayings for that. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. There's
Right.
you don't know what you got till it's gone, like the song. So, but I think that's a really, really good piece of advice as well. I do want to touch on the trading as well as we just kind of wrap up this video. We're going a little long, but that's because when you get me and Octo together, we we talk a lot.
Yep.
We're both chatty Cathy. So. As for trading, so a new addition to this year, whoever hung around to the end of this video, a little bit of a explanation here for you. So I decided the whole point of this league is to have a community. Pokemon was actually created to have people trade, to have people get involved with one another. As you can see from early, as soon as they included internet in the games, they wanted people to trade with one another across the world, the Vivillon, all the different kinds, all the alchemies, all the different kinds. They wanted you to connect. So that's kind of what my goal is here too. So trading between players didn't happen a whole lot. I'm really happy with the chat, how everyone's getting to know one another and chatting. But I think here's a feature that we're adding this season that I think will actually promote a little bit more discussion amongst teams. So trading in season one was specifically for one tier of the same tier traded 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 or 3 for 3, but it was all within the same tier. And I believe what we had to was if you did a 2 for 2 trade, that was 2 of your trades, 2 of your moves, and you only had 3. So not a lot of people wanted to use them. I felt probably half the players used most of their moves. A lot of guys used 1. Octo, our champ, didn't even use them until basically the season was over.
Right.
So basically what we're adding this year for season 2 is now you can make a trade 1 tier up or 1 tier down. So if you, looking at Yizzle's team on the screen, say you don't want Galarian Weezing, or better yet, somebody wants Galarian Weezing, he does not only have to look at the tier, the B tier Pokemon on the opposition team. Now he can look at A tier on the other team or C tier on the other team as well. Gives you 6 Pokemon to look at rather than just the 2 in the single tier. That being said, if you do, when it comes to the S tier, I think the S tier, especially this season, has so much power in it. we are going to make a rule where if you do inter-tier trading, such as an A tier for an S tier, one team will now have more than 2 S tiers. So in all fairness of the league, if you are the one team that has it, yes, you can choose those Pokemon every single week, but to make each week fair, you are only allowed to bring 2 of those Pokemon, 2 S tiers. So each week you're only allowed to bring maximum 2 S tier, 2 B tier, 2 C tier, 2 D tier, 2 F tier. Just to be fair, yes, you can choose every single week who you want to bring. You can choose any of the 3, but you can only bring 2 of them. You can't bring all 3 because I think that would be unfair. Yes, why would I trade between tiers? Look at right on the screen, Galarian Weezing right here. So Galarian Weezing can be the missing piece to your team, just to eliminate the abilities on the other on the other Pokemon, the other teams. Blah blah blah. So if that's the one piece of your team that you need, you might be willing to give up something that is worth a little bit more as well. And I believe that because of this, it's going to allow people to connect a little bit better and make more use of those actual trades. So have a look at the league rules as well. I believe I have a description in there. If you need any clarification, let me know. But yeah, trades are going to be big this year. I think the fact that you can trade between tiers is going to really make things a little cooler. So that's just going to wrap it up again for today. We're going on a little long. Thanks for sticking around for the video and for the end. Thank you again, Octo, for giving your expert advice. It's always a pleasure to have you on and help me with a lot of this extra stuff on the side. So we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll see you guys in the chat. Have a good one.